if all you give a family is the promise of this sentence after they've lost a loved one, just hold on. This is going to give justice to you. A, I don't believe violence can do that. B, I think it jerks people around for 25 and 30 years. And what I end up seeing or hearing people call me, family members, I've had this happen in the past when an execution's been scheduled. A family member will call us very upset about something that's on our website, and what they really are calling is that they want to be heard. They have not been heard in years, and they are absolutely stuck in the moment of that initial grief, because they've had to stay there, because they keep waiting and waiting and waiting for this promise that has been made to them that's not being fulfilled, as opposed to saying, what we can offer you is this sentence of life or life without parole, and you can walk out of the courtroom today, and we're going to, instead of chasing the death penalty, we're going to allocate resources and focus on you and your family's healing. How different an experience would that be? And the more I talk to murder victims' families, regardless of where they are on the death penalty, for it or against it, all of them, without fail, say the system is horrible to us because we are stuck and we are churned around in this thing for decades. And oftentimes the death penalty never happened. Like Paul Reed, those families have been trapped in that for decades, and then he dies of natural causes. It's just an empty promise that we're making to people. A, I think built on a very faulty idea that violence is going to somehow heal this issue. But two, because it just is so rarely the case that it happens. And at least half the death sentences in Tennessee that have been given have been overturned. And when you look at the statistics, since 1977, 1/5 of 1% of all people who committed homicide in this country have been executed. 1/5 of 1%, which means that 99 point whatever percent of people who have suffered a murder of a loved one, that has not been given them, right? So if we say we do this for victims, well, for the vast majority of murder victims' families, this is not even an option, right? So then we have to ask ourselves, well, who is it then that's getting the death penalty? And why are those individuals getting the death penalty? And that's when you start talking about the county you live in, the amount of money you have to hire defense attorneys, the color of the victim or victims. Race plays a big part in who gets the death penalty, not so much the race of the perpetrator, but the race of the victim. You're 3 times more likely to get a death sentence if a victim is white, even though African Americans make up half of all homicide victims. You start looking at mental health, mental illness, intellectual disability. You start looking at all these things, and suddenly it's not necessarily the worst of the worst that are getting this sentence. It's the least of the least. It's people with the least ability to defend themselves.